Story number 1. We hiked into the thick woods, just me and my friends, looking for adventure. The trees stood tall, their branches blocking out the sunlight. It felt like the forest itself was hiding secrets. We laughed and joked, unaware of what lay ahead. As we ventured deeper, something changed. The air became heavy, and the sounds of our footsteps echoed strangely. It was then that we stumbled upon it, an abandoned village, nestled in the heart of the ancient forest. The houses were dilapidated, windows shattered, and the eerie markings on the walls sent shivers down our spines. Curiosity got the better of us, so we entered cautiously. The silence inside was suffocating. A sense of foreboding filled the air. The markings seemed to tell a tale of a forgotten time, of people long gone but not at peace. We explored further, unaware that the shadows were watching us. Night fell quickly, wrapping the village in darkness. The moon cast an eerie glow on the ruins. That's when we felt it. A presence, something otherworldly. Our laughter ceased, replaced by a heavy silence as we realized the forest was not empty. Whispers echoed through the trees, the voices of those who once lived in the village. We exchanged nervous glances, our flashlights revealing the fear in each other's eyes. Footsteps echoed around us, but when we turned, there was no one there. A cold wind picked up, rustling the leaves like a ghostly sigh. Panic set in as we realized the spirits of the abandoned village were not at rest. Shadows danced among the trees, and strange figures appeared and vanished in the periphery of our vision. We hurriedly retraced our steps, attempting to escape the haunting presence. But the forest seemed to shift, confusing our path. It was as if the ancient trees conspired against us, leading us deeper into the heart of the ghostly realm. The whispers grew louder, telling stories of tragedy and betrayal. Each step felt heavier, burdened by the weight of the past. Fear clung to us like a second skin. We stumbled upon an old well, its depths unseen. The whispers intensified, and we felt compelled to peer into the darkness below. As we stared into the abyss, faces materialized. Faces of the villagers from the forgotten time. Hollow eyes bore into our souls, pleading for release. Their mournful wails filled the air, drowning out our own terrified breaths. We recoiled in horror, but the spirits pulled us closer, trapping us in their sorrow. In a desperate attempt to escape, we sprinted through the forest, guided only by the dim glow of the moon. The trees seemed to close in around us, creating an impenetrable maze. We stumbled and fell, branches clawing at us as if the forest itself sought revenge. Exhausted and disoriented, we found ourselves back at the abandoned village. The spirits mocked us with their phantom laughter. The markings on the walls seemed to writhe, telling a tale of our impending fate. We were trapped, caught in the never-ending cycle of the haunted forest. As the night wore on, our group began to unravel. Paranoia set in, and we turned on each other, accusing one another of leading us into this nightmare. The forest fed off our fear, distorting reality until trust became an elusive concept. The moon hung low in the sky, casting long shadows that danced with malevolence. We huddled together, our sanity slipping away. In the oppressive darkness, we heard a voice, a guttural chant that echoed through the trees. It promised release, a way to free ourselves from the grasp of the haunted forest. Desperation overcame reason, and we followed the haunting chant, stumbling blindly through the underbrush. The forest seemed to morph around us, its ancient spirits guiding our path. The chant grew louder until it reached a feverish pitch, and the air itself vibrated with an otherworldly energy. In a clearing, we found a circle of stones, worn by centuries of forgotten rituals. The chant emanated from the center, drawing us closer. As we stepped into the circle, the ground trembled beneath us, and the spirits manifested in a spectral dance around the stones. In a trance-like state, we joined the ethereal dance, our movements synchronized with the haunting rhythm. The forest exhaled a breath that felt like a sigh of relief. The spirits merged with our beings, and for a brief moment, we were one with the ancient souls. Story number 2. I was just a regular photographer, wandering into the woods to capture the beauty of nature. The first time it happened, I thought it was a glitch. strange, ghostly figures appearing in my photos. I shrugged it off, blaming it on the camera or maybe a trick of the light. But as I kept snapping pictures, the figures persisted. Human-shaped shadows lurking between the trees, their faces obscured by darkness. I told myself it was a quirk, something explainable. Maybe my lens had a smudge, or the forest was playing tricks on me. I posted the photos online thinking others might find them interesting. That's when things took a turn for the disturbing. People online started noticing the figures too. They weren't just in my imagination. The comments flooded in. Creepy, haunting. What are those things? I brushed it off, claiming it was an artistic choice. My followers grew, drawn in by the mysterious aura of my forest photos. Little did I know, the images held a power I couldn't comprehend. As my online presence expanded, so did the disappearances. People who had commented on my photos began vanishing without a trace. Friends, followers, strangers, gone. I couldn't ignore the eerie correlation between the figures in my pictures and the missing individuals. Fear gnawed at me, but I kept taking photos. It became an obsession. The haunting figures seemed to beckon me deeper into the forest, their ethereal presence urging me to unveil the truth. One day, as I roamed deeper into the woods, the figures became more pronounced. They lingered at the edge of my vision, whispering incoherent words that sent shivers down my spine. But still, I snapped pictures, unable to resist the strange allure. The forest's atmosphere changed. It wasn't just the figures anymore. The entire woodland seemed alive with a malevolent energy. The air grew thick, and every step felt like a descent into a realm beyond my understanding. My followers online urged me to reveal the location of the mysterious forest. They craved the same eerie experience, oblivious to the danger that lurked within. I hesitated, torn between the desire for validation and the growing sense of responsibility for the vanishing souls. In a moment of weakness, I succumbed to the pressure. I shared the forest's coordinates, inviting others to witness its haunting beauty. The online excitement reached a fever pitch, and people flocked to the woods, eager to capture their own glimpses of the ghostly figures. As more and more ventured into the forest, the disappearances escalated. Panic spread, but I was trapped in a web of my own making. The haunting figures, once confined to my photos, now materialized within the woods, mirroring the ominous reality. I ventured into the heart of the forest, compelled by a force beyond my control. The ghostly figures surrounded me, their whispers turning into desperate pleas for release. I realized I had become a puppet, a conduit for an otherworldly power that hungered for souls. The forest became a labyrinth, trapping those who dared to enter. Desperation filled the air, and the ghostly figures manifested in the flesh, their faces contorted with anguish. I witnessed the disappearances firsthand, helpless to intervene. My camera became a cursed artifact, capturing the suffering it shed into the faces of the lost souls. I snapped photo after photo, each click echoing with the weight of a life taken. The forest absorbed the pain, growing darker with every passing moment. I tried to escape, to break free from the grip of the haunted woods, but the figures circled me, their presence unyielding. The whispers turned accusatory, blaming me for the misery I had unleashed upon the unsuspecting souls. The online frenzy reached a new level as news outlets picked up the story. The cursed forest became a sensation, drawing in thrill seekers who sought the thrill of the unknown. The figures, once confined to the shadows, now walked openly among the trees, their ethereal forms a macabre dance of despair. I became a pariah, haunted not only by the ghostly figures, but also by the faces of the disappeared. Faces I had unknowingly condemned to a fate worse than death. The weight of guilt pressed down on me, a burden too heavy to bear. In the heart of the forest, I found a clearing surrounded by twisted trees. The ghostly figures congregated, their spectral forms merging into a swirling vortex of darkness. The air crackled with energy, and the forest seemed to pulse with a sinister heartbeat. As I approached the vortex, a voice echoed in my mind, a voice that spoke of the forest's hunger, of the souls it craved. I realized the figures were not merely victims. They were agents of the forest's insatiable appetite for human suffering. In a moment of clarity, I understood my role. I was the unwitting harbinger of doom, the one who had opened the gateway to the forest's malevolence. The figures demanded a sacrifice, a toll for the torment I had unleashed. I hesitated, torn between self-preservation and the obligation to end the cycle of suffering. The ghostly figures closed in, their eyes pleading for release. With a heavy heart, I stepped into the swirling vortex, offering myself as the final sacrifice. As the darkness enveloped me, the forest fell silent. The haunting figures faded, their spectral forms dissolving into the shadows. The air cleared, and the twisted trees stood still, no longer fueled by the malevolent energy. Story number 3. In the dark of the forest, my family got lost. The trees whispered secrets we couldn't understand, and soon we were surrounded by shadows. But then, like a mirage, we stumbled upon it, an eerie carnival, appearing out of nowhere. At first it seemed innocent. Dim lights flickered, revealing ghostly rides and games. The air smelled like cotton candy, sweet and inviting. Tired and scared, we decided to check it out, thinking it might lead us back to where we belonged. The carousel spun with spectral horses, and the music played a haunting melody. We hopped on, the ethereal creatures going up and down like they had minds of their own. Laughter echoed through the forest, but something felt off, a subtle shift in the air like a shiver crawling down my spine. Next, we found a booth with a game, throw a ring onto a bottle. Easy, right? But as we played, the bottles whispered, telling secrets we didn't want to hear. The prize we won wasn't a stuffed toy, but a chilling revelation that hung heavy in the night. The roller coaster beckoned with creaky rails and ghostly cars. We climbed aboard, the forest disappearing as we ascended. The ride was a descent into darkness, the twists and turns making us question reality. Each scream from the riders seemed less like joy and more like agony. As we wandered deeper, we stumbled upon a tent with a sign, "Fortune Teller." The old woman inside stared into a crystal ball, her eyes reflecting a future we couldn't escape. She spoke of choices we'd made and those we hadn't, weaving a tale of despair that left us uneasy. The Ferris wheel rose high above the treetops, offering a view of the haunted carnival below. From above, it looked like a nightmare, the attractions pulsating with a sinister energy. We wanted to leave, but the forest had swallowed our path, leaving us trapped in this spectral fair. In the heart of the carnival, a carousel of mirrors awaited. We stepped onto the platform, the mirrors reflecting twisted versions of ourselves. Each reflection whispered regrets and fears, turning the once joyous ride into a descent into self-inflicted horror. The haunted carnival seemed endless, and with every step the air grew thicker. The laughter turned to maniacal giggles, and the once inviting lights became a beacon of malevolence. Panic clawed at us, but escape eluded our grasp. Then, we found the funhouse, a maze of distorted mirrors and twisting passages. It beckoned with promises of escape, but inside, reality warped. The mirrors lied, showing pathways that led nowhere. Shadows danced in the corners, mocking our attempts to find an exit. As the night wore on, the carnival's true nature revealed itself. The rides became more twisted, the games more malevolent. The cotton candy turned to ash in our mouths, and the once inviting scent now reeked of decay. The laughter transformed into a chorus of tormented souls. We realized we weren't participants, we were prey. The carnival fed on our fears, our regrets, and our despair. The more we indulged, the tighter its grip became, like a spider ensnaring its prey in a web of nightmares. The Ferris wheel, once a towering beacon, now felt like a cage. The roller coaster's shrieks echoed with desperation, and the carousel of mirrors showed us distorted faces filled with terror. The haunting melody played on, a dirge that accompanied our descent into the carnival's clutches. Escape became imperative. We sprinted through the maze of mirrors, the distorted reflections mocking our every move. The funhouse seemed to stretch endlessly, the walls closing in as if the carnival itself resisted our attempts to break free. Finally, we stumbled upon the exit. The forest awaited, but it wasn't the same. The trees whispered with a newfound malice, and the shadows clung to us like vengeful spirits. We ran, the carnival's eerie lights fading behind us, but the malevolent echoes lingered in our minds. As we emerged from the haunted forest, we looked back, half expecting the carnival to follow. The darkness clung to the edge of the trees, a lingering threat. We had escaped the spectral fair, but its mark was etched into our souls, a reminder that some nightmares don't end when you wake up.